Good evening once again, brothers and sisters. I'm your friend and brother, Dr. Owen, coming back to you once again. It's been a long time since we haven't streamed, but tonight we're coming together once again. But I want to thank God for this day, and I want to thank God for you as you are there. I want to thank God as well for the finishing of the year. 2020 was very hectic year. I know you've been through a lot, and almost everybody been through a lot, and we really saw many changes around us. But I just wanna first pass my compliment of the season to each and every one that is listening, to friends and brothers out there. Just wanna also uh, thank God for allowing us to reach this till this moment. Within a day and a half, we will actually dive into 2021, and we don't know what 2021 has for us, but we trust and believe that our God is able. He will take us through, and we know that He never fail us. We just have hope and trust that He will make it. He will help us to make it. I've been saying to friends that this year seemed to be a year that I think those that are truly connected to the Lord are the ones that will go through this year. As we can see what has happened, this second wave of coronavirus that is coming over and has really terrified, the nations. The whole world is terrified about it, but we thank God that He's our protector. We cannot. We cannot say we cannot thank God about this. We really need to thank God because He's still protecting His own, and also those that have lost life. We also pass our condolences to them, and we need to trust God, especially this time. We need to trust God because He's our trust, He's our help, He's everything that we can ever achieve in life. Well, we want to just look at few things. As last stream that I had, the previous one, I was speaking about a family. I was speaking about a friendship and friendship in terms of a relationship. I remember speaking quite a lot concerning that. But in all this, I'm just coming up with introduction. Then I will have a time to dive in or to dive deeper into this, topics. Then from there, we will get to understand better and learn much concerning families, relationships, marriages, and all kind of things that I've mentioned. And tonight, let us look at how can we build a healthy marriage? How can we build a healthy marriage? I believe this topic will be very relevant for mostly those that are intending to marry, those that are into marriage, and also those that don't know much about it. They will definitely learn from this. And as you go along with this, I believe the Lord will help you to understand that this is a topic that is needed, especially nowadays, as we've seen what is happening around. We've seen homes being, broken, marriage being in shambles, and we've seen a lot of changes taking place, especially this time of lockdown. South Africa has gone back to level 3 of lockdown, which is, most things are actually going back again to where it used to be. Only one advantage that we have is that the economy is still functioning as it is. Just that people's mentality need to change in terms of putting on mask, in terms of disciplining ourselves, so that we may also try to be a help to the communities, so that we may not be a burden. In terms of this coronavirus, we need to be responsible of one another, ourselves and one another as well. And that is, I believe, how things should start. Well, we're gonna look at a few points. I'm not gonna take much time. We're gonna look at few points, actually 3 points. Then we will conclude from there. 3 points that are we gonna look at. First, we're looking at a healthy marriage. A healthy marriage. How do you build a healthy marriage, or how do you build a family that is efficacious, a family that is healthy, a family that is accepted, a family that is needed, a family that is passive, a family that will, that has a good, result of success. Now, how do you build that? In building this, first in seeing things, one should ask, by the way, how do you do this? I know it always very difficult for many, as we know and understand, marriages that have been failing, divorces are here and now. You see a lot of things happening in marriages, in relationships, and all kind of things. But we know that the only solution that we can get or have, it is through God's word, and also through our setting our coming up changing our mindsets toward marriage. And this is what we need. I like actually to speak about this topic, because I believe with this topic it can help anybody, especially those that are struggling in marriage. There are many people that are struggling out there in marriage. I'm in a field of counseling. I understand and I know what is happening. And it's quite challenging, which is we need to come to understand that also by learning how to deal with how to deal with these things, or how to build a family. Learning how to build a family, a healthy family, also may help us to understand also the implication of a good relationship, implication of a healthy marriage. So in addition to this, I want us to look at passive way, three passive ways that are needed in order to have your marriage succeed. Now, these three passive ways, we first look at, number one, a marriage that has succeeded is a marriage that has learned how to communicate, or learn the means of communication in a marriage. Uh, this alone will help a marriage succeed, will help a marriage to go through those difficult time that you find that most couple always go through. And many marriages, or most couples out there, you find them in problem because they failing to communicate, because the means of communications are very poor. That is why you find so many marriages, on the, shamble. And you ask yourself, why can they really help one another in here, or who can help here? And you find that every marriage that you see, you may see them look very healthy outside, and they may look very good and pleasant, but when you get in, you will find that almost every house, every couple has a problem. And where are the problem coming from? And this is the same thing that we are going to look at. Probably this will help you to understand, to learn some modalities, how to overcome certain challenges that you find yourself in your marriage. But the first thing that I've mentioned is the communication. You see, when we learn how to communicate with our spouses, that is the first thing and the first element that is needed in marriage in order to succeed, in order to overcome certain challenges that we find ourselves into. I understand that in a marriage we find so many difficulties because of not having that efficacy of communication. In other words, you don't get into seriosity. You don't have actually you don't learn some modalities of knowing how to communicate with your spouse. And there's so many things have been happening. just because of this. You find that two parts, a husband and wife having a big problems because the communication is lacking over here. And when there is a problem, you find that this problem is communicated sometimes you find some couples communicating, or when there's something to say to one another, they shout to one another in the public. Maybe something that they needed to communicate between one another, you'll find they can even, if one had a friend around, they don't have to, they don't wait, some of them don't wait to to see the moments that they have, they don't to the other part. That is a big problem. Lacking communication, there is a danger of that marriage to fail. There is actually risk over of that marriage. But I want to bring this to your attention tonight. A good marriage, a marriage that is needed, a marriage that is a healthy marriage, knows how to communicate or learns ways of communicating. No matter how you feel that another partner maybe has, let me put it this way: no matter what mistake you've realized or you've discovered from your partner, if this mistake is remarkable, it's always good to learn, or to wait until you have a moment that you can speak to your partner. And a good marriage should have a time that they speak or sort out things together. If you will be in a marriage but you don't have a time that you really sit together and speak, then you know that that marriage will not really last for long. Every marriage should have what we call a pillow talk. And a pillow talk should be at a time that no one is there, no one is listening, no one is able to hear what is happening, or to come up with a, to see what is happening around it. So if a marriage has those kind of modalities where you find yourself, if there is a problem, you have a place where you can sit, or place where you talk your issues. That is a great thing that combats problems, or the issue of divorce, because we find so many marriages today. We see so many divorces today, we see so many things happening today. And when you ask yourself, why are these things happening? It's because of lack of communication. Communication is needed in our marriages. When we communicate passively, when we have that moment where we can talk to each other amicably, no matter how boiling you're feeling within your heart. But you should also learn to wait, and just come to that moment where you can both speak. Maybe you can even just allow that day to pass and go to a second day, though you're still keeping things within your heart. But I just keep that so that you may have time to speak to your spouse, well, and amicably, without problems. If you do that, you will have a wonderful marriage. Your journey will be very smooth. And number two, there is what we call transparency. In a marriage, when there is no transparency, then that marriage is in at risk. Transparency is something that is needed in marriage. I've spoken about the first thing, which is, communication. When you communicate passively, when you wait, you create a space, a way, or means of communicating to your husband or to your wife. That marriage will be very healthy. That marriage will last. That marriage will learn how to overcome certain challenges that they come across. Now, when you come to number two, now where you are transparent to one another, that alone is another element that overcome issues that may emerge into your marriage. Why am I saying this? Being transparent to one another helps you, also to overcome those small devils that you find maybe are caused by, sometimes mothers-in-law, because we see most of time people that are more trusted in marriages. We find so many times people that have really ruined the marriage. You find mothers-in-law or the in-laws in general. We can say that as well. In-laws also, they have big parts. Oh, it may even be friends, if you like, because we see many marriages, the cause of breaking down, the cause of separation in many marriages, the cause of many marriages not be a healthy marriage. You'll find that these couples, they had other people that they've involved in their marriages. It might be probably a mother-in-law, a father-in-law, but a fathers-in-law mostly they don't care. They're not really people that follow much marriages. They are children. Most of the time when they've given out children to marriages, they don't follow up. They don't follow much into. They don't get into their issues. But people that get into issues mostly are mothers-in-law mostly, and brothers-in-law, sisters-in-law. You find them into the issues, into marriages, and that's where you find most of the time a fire erupting into marriages. But we need to learn how to be transparent. When you are into a courtship, for example, for those who never married yet, they've never been married yet, and if you are into a courtship, that is the moment actually to be more transparent to your partner. When you are transparent to your partner, it shall help you to understand, or it shall help you to build a good foundation for your marriage. Because if transparency is not into a marriage, there is a big problem in that marriage. There is a big problem. It's like a person building a house without a structure. Now, when you understand the implication or the relevance of transparency, that will help you even more to stick in your marriage whenever a problem okay. We find so many marriages today are being, broken because of lack of transparency, because there was no transparency from beginning. And these have been things that we see. Transparency is not the communication, is not when you heard something from friends, maybe you've heard something from in-laws. In-laws, they always have something to say concerning the person that is in there. Maybe you are a man, you brought a woman into your house. You find some other men, they marry a woman and they bring the woman into their house. They don't go out there and get their own house, but they bring a woman into their house. You find others, even if they have a house somewhere else, but they want their mother-in-law to be also in the business. They want the mother-in-law to be there. I don't know whether they want the mother-in-law to, to observe what kind of woman it is. It's very shocking thing, because you find so many men, they do such kind of things. I don't know whether they were not satisfied about their observation. You find some other marriages, before they even get to wed, they come to a point where they spend maybe more than 2 or 3 years in courtship. But still, a man will still go out there and bring the mother-in-law into his house. And I don't know whether you want your mother-in-law to begin to scrutinize your wife, trying to find out whether your wife is a good person or not a good person. You see, when if you did not have a time to trace that, from your courtship, it will be difficult for you when you bring your mother-in-law, your mother into the business, when you have brought your wife in. And we find also most women also, they like to open up more to their mothers even when they are married already, and you will find they will spend more time with their mothers, with not even with their husbands. And that is where you find so many marriages are breaking down because your husband now sees you spending more time with your mom, whereas you left home. They gave you out for marriage. And these are the things that you find, people need to talk about, churches need to talk about this. And when we conduct marriages, most of time, we don't have time to look after, these couples, or to speak to couples about, what is happening. Even those that are in marriages, there are so many marriages that are there that many of them did not have a chance to go through a marriage counseling before, married. And that is where you find some houses are being, in shambles. Some marriages have been in shambles, but there's nothing that is done. But we can do something, we can do something. Pastors can do something, people can do something about this. And that is why this actually, I felt within my spirit that I should have this as a topic that I will develop more and more so that we can learn something about our marriages, because this is something that is very, it's very delicate. This topic is something that you and I need to understand, that marriage is, you know, is what God ordained. God ordains marriage. Now, also, you need to understand that the devil does not want marriage, because anything that is involved in unity, unity is involved in, devil is against that. And that is a problem. Now, all these things that we find happening out there, it is all about, failure of understanding ways of dealing or building a healthy marriage. Now, number three, I will be speaking about believing in your partner. Believing in your partner. You see, there are so many marriages that exist today that you find these two people don't believe in each other. These two people, they are totally different from each other. Yes, we understand God created us differently, man and a woman differently, but at least you need to believe in your partner. You cannot bring your partner to a point of marriage, but you don't believe your partner. We understand, yes, there are so much that is happening today. Today we have issues that are, are causing people to marry. We've seen others are motivated, from the TVs, what they see, marriages. Others, they want to do it for fun, for that moment. Then after that, others, they want to taste how marriage is all about, then give up on it after they are done. So we see all those things happening. But we need to remember one thing: a healthy marriage is a marriage that's, is accepted by God. First, you need to understand how does the marriage get accepted by God. If that marriage went through, all the rituals of spiritual rituals that are accepted, and also if you did things accordingly, according to the word of God, that is a good marriage. First, you need to understand that the foundation is laid well. Also, something else that you need to understand and know: a marriage has to have trust in. I've spoken in a previous video about the trust that we should have to one another, because you will never love somebody without trusting a person. There is no love without trust, and there is no trust without love. So those two, they go together. And that is a great and a good marriage that we can build. That is where actually the strength of marriage is found. And now, when we look at this issue, third point of believing in your partner, it's simply one may ask a question: how can you be able to build a house without a foundation? You see, now believing in your partner becomes like a foundation. You see, in a certain we are living in Africa, whereby there's a difference, setting. When it comes to marriage, you'll find that different country has their own setting. Different country have their own rite of passage, how they do things, how they accommodate one another when it comes to marriage rights. You will see there are differences in that case. There are so many things that are but it's kind of like correlating, because it's some kind of bantu kind of marriage, where there's some kind of correlation there. There's a similarity there. In African axiology, there's what we call Ubuntu in a marriage also. When you have that kind of Ubuntu, whereby families have to be involved, one family and another family have to be involved. That's what actually makes that marriage to become strong. When I was talking about in-laws, maybe you may not understand, maybe you may not be of African cultures, and you're hearing this kind of in-laws and all kind of things. I know everyone has, all marriages have in-laws. When the woman or a man come together, the father or the family of a man, the family of a woman, when they get together, they discuss about how their children will make this possible. Now that these immediately they become in-laws. They actually clip together, and when they come together like that, so they build a family, knowing each other through their children. That becomes one family also. But now it's amazing that in Africa we have such things, and we have most there are so much that happens. And due to communication, sometimes you'll find that in these marriages, there's you find one part, maybe a girl, for example, where a girl is married, coming to a certain family. Uh, Now, in this family, you find the family of a man want to determine how things should be for this girl. You find in other cultures, because we have different cultures, in our families. We have different cultures, but all these cultures, they all projects on the one thing, and this is having a marriage that is successful, a marriage, building a marriage that is needed, that is passive, conjugal marriage. So, and in this case, we see there are so many problems that are happening. For example, I've been speaking to a couple whereby they just got married, but the problem started when they had a woman conceived. When a woman conceived, apparently the mother-in-law began to speak. The mother of a man started speaking, saying, I believe your wife will give us a baby boy, and this is it. And we will appreciate if she will give us a baby boy. And unfortunately, the first child that came out was a baby girl. Now, this girl was hated in the family like never before, to a point where I came in. And when I was helping this family, and you could see the man also was already gone, was taken by what the woman has been saying. I mean, the mother has been saying, showing a man that this marriage will not work, since your wife never gave you a baby boy. But that is lie. We all understand biologically, it states that a man, a child, or a gender comes from a man, not from a woman. There's nothing a woman gives out. Everything that comes out, gender comes from a man. So when I spoke to this family, I had to bring in the mother as well, the mother-in-law. And I explain how this works. And I explain that, you cannot crucify a woman because she did not give you a baby girl, a baby boy rather. That is actually something unacceptable. And it's a lack of communication, it's a lack of knowledge. And when I explained to them, you could see this woman was still like furious. The mother-in-law was still furious because she wanted a baby boy. Then, but the man on his side, he was already satisfied with, the moments that we saw. But the woman was having a problem. The mother-in-law was having a problem. The man's mother. And we find this problem most of time. But I spoke to the man. I said, look, the problem is for you, from you. How could you involve your mom in your marriage? And this is a mistake that most people do. You know, you've married and you bring in your mom. But the Bible says a man shall leave a mother, and a woman shall leave a mother and the father, and these two shall come together and shall be one. These two shall leave mother, they leave parents aside. When you come together, you leave your parents. Now, when you bring in your parents again, that becomes failure. And that's how you find so many marriages are failing because of, trying to bring a third person in there. You're not supposed to bring a third person. There are so much that we are going to look at. But at the moment, I want you to just look at this. In order to build a healthy marriage, a wonderful marriage, successful marriage, one need to learn three things. Number one, communication needs to be very passive. Secondly, transparency is needed in your marriage. And thirdly, you need to believe in your partner. Believe in your partner. You need to be proud of your partner in such a way when they come with things. There are times people come up with, wrong information. But if you've communicated, if your communication is, great, there's no way anything bad can seep into your marriage. Anything bad can come in and begin to break or begin to, destabilize your peace in your marriage. Marriage is needed. Marriage is very blessed and it's good. So it's something that two people are involved in, not three people. Two people are involved in. The moment we learn how to involve, one another into marriage in terms of communication, transparency, and belief of one another, then we will be having a great marriage and a wonderful marriage. That is for me for tonight. May God bless you. We will meet again. I believe we'll have more time together and God will be with us, especially during this time of COVID, this lockdown. We will have more time together. We'll speak much. We will build our marriages, and I believe our marriages will not be the same. Do not forget, please, to subscribe on our YouTube channel, and also, if it's possible, you can visit our Facebook as well, and that will be great. May God bless you. Thank you.